Do you think there's any reason why they've gone about it this way that you can see?
I think the issue is really where the genesis for this inquiry came from, and we've just seen the resignation of the Premier, of one Premier, and the installation of another, and in a situation where the new incumbent, the former Premier was considered to have quite a lot of baggage in relation to ethical conduct, and the new Premier is really trying to whitewash the impression of what Tasmania constitutes to its populace and to the world, that it is clean, green, clever, kind, compassionate, whatever, and ethical. And I think this is an opportunity for him to be an extremely good Democrat and involve community in the process of cleaning out the poison and the contamination that has caused Tasmania to be the laughingstock of Australia in terms of governance. And we think it's got to be done, as Des said, if it's done properly, it has the capacity for invigorating the lives of ordinary Tasmanians, because they will have trust and confidence in their elected officials. If it is done piecemeal and inadequately, it will have to be redone, and the poison and the contamination will continue for a lot longer. And we believe that the process has to cover all the aspects that Des mentioned, the watchdogs, the existing legislation, but also the public sector. So in other words, the bureaucrats, the politicisation of the bureaucracy, how information is given without fear or favour in relation to the best advice that is evidence-based, risk management-based, science-based, that informs good public policy. If you don't have that, you have a corruption of the system which allows for vested interests to exercise power. And we think that that is not what good governance is about, and we'd like to see this transparent process be given the time to do the job properly.
The state has had such a history of corruption, not proven, but it's been something that is in our history. It's been accepted as suspicious. Is this actually going to achieve a change in our, not just in the top, but in the workings underneath, the public servants and business?
It's my view that legislation does not necessarily provide the solutions to what we have in Tasmania as a culture of denial and secrecy, fear and intimidation as well. I believe that the solutions are many-folded, and that it will involve community understanding and participation at all levels of organisational contribution, that it's not just something that will operate at the level of governance and that legislation will fix all. It won't. It never has done, and it never will. And as we've seen from all the whistleblower cases that we've had in Tasmania, whistleblower protection law, which was effectively for the past 4 years our de facto anti-corruption legislation, was completely and utterly ineffective, and that has been verified by Rick Snell and the Tasmanian Ombudsman. So that when we move from one piece of anti-corruption legislation to another one, the process has to be extremely thorough. The Tasmanian community and public servants have in fact already been burnt very badly in relation to going along with the idea that any legislation is better than none. The public interest disclosure legislation has not turned out to be better than none.
I think if they're actually starting with a public participation process, they can shift the culture within Tasmania, and if they show that they're working ethically with the public right from the start of this inquiry, then there's an opportunity for a big shift to happen in the culture within Tasmania. But if we just fast track it and the public just say, oh, this is what we've got because this is what we've got, and accepting the status quo as they've done, it's an extremely missed opportunity. And I think Premier Bartlett has a great opportunity here to show he is the democratist, he calls himself, and open this up to improve the democracy within Tasmania. Yeah.
And that gets to the issue of whether it is top-down, directive, this is what we're doing and this is how it's going to be done and this is the time frame, or is it genuine about the bottom-up community consensus, inclusive process where you bring people together with different strengths and qualities about their experiences in life, in the public sector, in general business, in public polity, the whole range, academics, you bring them all, and because of that there's a richness and diversity of providing the best ethical underpinning, and this is what we're trying to do here. I think most of us have experienced in our lives and watched the water flow under the bridge of Tasmania, and we recognise that wisdom is important, and this is an opportunity for Tasmania to consolidate that wisdom and make us a contemporary jurisdiction in the Australian context that is absolutely correct about its ethical underpinning. This is to me is the most fundamental piece of change that Tasmania will have to establish itself with for the next 100 years. If it's done well, Tasmania will change dramatically into a vibrant, healthy, psychologically and physically healthy environment and a sustainable environment.